Going on right now? You watching Casino is the Name. Man, we back to the money, man. We back to the money. Next week, we back to the money. We all going out here. We all hustling. We all getting to it. Looking for this watch. I don't know where this watch is right now. Oh, it's over there. I'm gonna go over there and get it anyway. I gotta go over there anyway. But we back to it, baby. We back to this money. We grinding. I know this year is gonna be a crazy year. This year we're gonna get more money than we ever got. This year we're gonna grind harder than we ever grind. And I learned a lot of things last year. The last year, year and a half, man, I learned a lot of things, man. All right. So it's very important to understand who really in your corner, who really got your back. You know what I'm saying? When your back is up against the wall, who gonna be right there for you? You know what I'm saying? You might be surprised at who's really in your corner and who ain't. Feel me? You feel me? So fraud is at an all-time high. It's a lot of fraud going on right now. Hold on. I'm actually working on some documents on my iPad over here. So we come over here and just grab this real quick. But fraud is at an all-time high. It's all types of fraud going on, which is why if you're an accountant, if you're a lawyer, things like that, man, you're going to be straight. You know what I'm saying? Because fraud is at an all-time high. As a matter of fact, I was never really considering getting a certification of any sort. So in accounting, there's a lot of different certifications you can get. Most people are familiar with the CPA, Certified Public Accountant, which is a certification that you can get. But then there's also a CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner. There's a CIA, Certified Internal Auditor. There's a CMA, there's a Certified Management Accountant. CDFM, Certified Department of Defense Financial Manager. There's a CGFM, Certified Government Financial Manager. There's so many different types of certifications that you can get as an accountant that I really, when I was working as an auditor for the federal government, it wasn't necessary that I had to get a certification. It was great if you did. It was highly accepted and respected, but it wasn't necessary for you to make GS-13, GS-14, things like that. It wasn't necessary that you had a certification. People were definitely getting promoted to those positions without any of those certifications. So then it's like, well, why do we even need to go get a certification? There may be some positions that might have required it. Maybe if you're working for the SEC or you're working for some kind of credit union, government agency, kind of semi-quasi kind of situation, or if you're maybe a department head or something like that, they might have, required maybe the head of a department to be a CPA. But more than likely, you're not going to be required unless you're working for, say, like maybe the SEC or something like that. You more than likely you won't be required to get a CPA or any other kind of certification unless you're in a certain type of role. Most accounting positions for the federal government do not require a CPA or any certification. But because of that is the reason why I never really planned on getting a CPA or any real certification. I looked into it. When I was in college, I was definitely thinking about getting a CPA, but, I wasn't really too focused on getting a CPA once I discovered, the field or the world of government accounting. And, there were CPAs. Let me go get another charger for this iPad. There were CPAs that I was working with, but they got their CPA prior to joining or becoming like a federal accountant or auditor. And when speaking to them about their CPA or whatever, they were saying that it was pretty much useless in that space, like in the field or in the world of accounting for the government. So I thought it was a waste of time. So that kind of furthermore answered my question about why would a certification even be necessary. But in hindsight, with all this fraud that's going on, you got to understand that COVID created a lot of fraud into the world. A lot of people who never did fraud before did fraud. And there was just so much money that was produced and created in that short period of time. There was just so much room, so much risk for uh, and not proper internal controls. Checking in, who is that? Rasal Samad. I think I said that right. Rasal Samad. I think I said it right. Appreciate you. Can you hear me okay? I don't even know if you guys can hear me okay. I'm mic'd up, but I don't know if you can hear me okay. Hopefully it's clean, it's clear, but I'm not even sure. If you could just let me know loud and clear or something like that. Okay, hear me perfectly. Great. All right, but I already knew that there was going to be some fraud. That there was a lot of fraud, being done. I knew I was seeing it. I'm from Florida. I grew up in Florida, Tallahassee to be exact. My mom's from Miami. I'm very familiar with what goes on in Florida. So, knowing how much fraud was going on, I knew that there was going to be job security for accountants moving forward. And it takes sometimes 5, 10, 15 years before, say, a system that the government or a plan that the government sets into place before you actually see what the repercussions of that plan was. If, like, let's say tomorrow they decide that they're going to make college free for everyone, you won't really see that change, or how it really impacts the world for maybe 5, 10, 15 years. Don't get me wrong, it's not saying that you won't see a bunch of people going back to college, but you won't see what that real impact is with now all of these new people having no college debt and just everybody just going to school who would have never gone to school before because they would have had to pay for it. You won't really see what that impact is until 5, 10, 15 years from now, because now a bachelor's degree would be like a driver license. It would, like, everybody has it now, so there's no significance of it. But then also, what government programs, or what would the government debt be when taking on all of these new college applications, or paying for all of these new college classes, and what would be the impact on like on the colleges? Like, how much money would the colleges just swell to because now they're maxed out with classes? How difficult would it be for you to get into classes? What kind of waiting list will it be? So those are the kind of things that I know you got to start thinking about when the government makes a decision. I know the government also thinks about those things, but when the government makes a decision, there's going to be changes, and there's going to be things that are not going to be felt until years from now. So whenever I think about these things, I kind of try to think about it from that stance. So when I saw all of this money being dumped into the world, I was like, man, I see the risk. I see the internal control risk, because at the time I was an auditor who looked for internal control risks. And there was a lot of them. There was a ton of them. And whenever there's a risk, you pretty much almost guarantee that somebody will try it. I watched it was Country Wayne. He was talking about how a cousin of his, I think, somebody stole money from him. Like, he had a bunch of money sitting at the house, and they stole money from him. So I think Shannon Sharp was asking him that he cut that family member off or whatever, and he said no, because not really. Because I technically, he took that fault onto himself, because he said, I technically put them in a position where, the money was there, right? So even though that may not be in their typical character to take something from somebody, but, I made it where, if it's too much money in front of you, they're tempted to do it, even though that may not be their natural state. That is so true when it comes to with risk. Fraud, like fraud would be slowed down a lot if there was less risk for fraud, right? If there was less risk for fraud, it makes it harder, or it deters people from even thinking about doing it, right? Very few people will walk up into the police station and go behind a police officer's desk and steal $100. Because first of all, you're walking into the place where the people will arrest you already. So the risk is higher, right? And then just because the money is on the desk, there, somebody may see you. You probably thinking it's being recorded. Maybe there is somebody sitting there. Maybe their back is turned, but the risk of it, it's not worth the risk, right? But imagine if there's $100 sitting in an abandoned building, and it's not yours, and whoever was working in here is gone for the day. There's no electricity even in the building, and you can see that $100 through a window. You probably go in there and get it because there's no, the door is wide open. You probably go in there and grab it and get up out of there. And it's now, imagine if maybe you don't do it for $100, but what happens when it's $5,000 sitting there like that, $10,000 sitting there like that, $100,000 sitting there like that, $1,000,000 sitting there like that? You become more and more tempted. You become more and more tempted, especially when you look at the risk. The risk is, well, ain't nobody here, right? So I have very low risk of getting caught. I mean, the risk of it happening is great, but the risk of the person feeling like they're going to get caught is low. Or, they feel like the money is just too free. When you sit around, and it's a bunch of people who running all kind of little scams, and they saying, man, you better get you some of this money, and you ain't got no car, you sleeping on somebody's couch, your bills need to be paid, you got a baby on the way, you got this going on, you got that going on, and everybody's saying, listen, you type this stuff in, just say this, and these people gonna send you $15,000 tomorrow. They're gonna send you $20,000 tomorrow. You don't even gotta have a business. Just fill this out. Fill this PPP loan out. Fill this EIDL loan. This such and such has got 100,000. Some of these people never seen that much money in their life. Some of these people never got a check that big in their life. Okay, so if you were sleeping on the floor somewhere, and then somebody saying, "Man, I can get you 65,000 tomorrow," well, run it, okay? And so the government had so many weaknesses when it came to how they were giving the money out. It just created too much fraud, and I could see it, right? We could see it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that there was an issue with how this money was just free flowing. But in the case of an emergency, they had to put the money out. I understood the government. I understand why the government did it the way they did it. I mean, I don't know if I would have did it the way they did it, but I understood what their mission was and what they were trying to do. And that you just hope that people make smart decisions, or, hope that people have integrity, but they don't. Okay. And so you just hope these things. And, when people go out and they prove to the government that they can't be trusted like that, it's still too late, because they still have to get the money to the people who are going to be trustworthy. It's kind of one of those things. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of fraud. I was seeing the fraud. And so I was like, man, somebody's going to have to figure these things out. Whenever they decide, hey, we're going to go after this, because they're not going to go after everybody. It was just too much money, too many people. It'd be almost impossible to go after everybody. Almost impossible. Because, they're going to request documents to prove that you are who you are and stuff like that. And so, who's going to review those things? AI is not smart enough to do all of that right now. It could be tricked. So, who is going to go and sit through all of those things, interview those people? Nobody. But If you took too much, then yeah, they're gonna go after you. If it's too much money, they're gonna go after you. If you somebody who got $3 million, $5 million in PPP loan money, they probably gonna go after you. But if you were somebody who got $10,000, you probably have a very low chance of them really being able to even focus on that. It's just not enough with the totals that they had ran to. Not saying that they won't, but it just doesn't make sense unless there's so few of people who did fraud, which I don't think so. So, but that still means that somebody would need to figure out all of that stuff that happened, right? Like somebody who would need to be qualified, educated, trained on how to find these things, like how to look at bank accounts a certain kind of way, how to look at purchases, how to just do the research and things like that. Somebody would need to know the laws, policies, rules, regulations when it comes to those things. And you'd be surprised how people may think that they were, or they may think, like, let's say I were to hire somebody off the street to discover some fraud. They probably can't because most people don't even know what fraud is. Like, because people do things erroneously or illegally all the time, thinking that it's not illegal. They just found a loophole. When a lot of times it's illegal or it's wrong or whatever. But they find a loophole and they exploit it. But that exploitation could be illegal. They just don't know it, or they've been doing the same thing forever, right? People have been buying food stamps forever, but it's probably illegal. It's probably illegal. I don't know. I would think it's something about it, and especially if you're applying for food stamps and you don't actually need them and you're just lying on the paperwork, it's illegal. But people do it all the time, and there's nobody to, like, I guess, check them. I guess, I don't know. And hold on, let me see what you guys are saying. I'm kind of far back from the screen. Let's see. Okay. Curtis Davis said, "Hey, bro, which video best hot shot? What's my best hot shot video? Curtis, is that what you're asking? Is which one is my best hot shot video?" Um, Rasal Samad says, "I thought the government did it on purpose." Um, he thought the government. Like, what do you mean that you thought they did it on purpose? They did push the money out, but they needed to do it because they needed to get to the people. But they didn't have a good system of releasing the money, and they knew that it was going to be fraud as well. I'm sure they had assessed the risk of it or whatever, but they had no other, I guess, options. And they just hoped that people wouldn't go crazy with it or figure it out or whatever. Ferris says it would cost them much more than they lost. It would. It cost them a lot of money. It cost them a lot of money. So that's why that's why they would probably only be recommended to go after the larger sums of income. If you got $3,000 or $4,000, they probably not going. It's probably nothing to them, as far as, like, why would we even go after you? Unless you just did something like maybe super public or super boastful, or you just did something ridiculous and they was like, you know what, you giving yourself to us. Come on over here. All right, come on. All right. So, and like I was saying, like, you can find people on the street, but people do stuff wrong all the time where you have to find somebody who even understands what fraud is. There are people who have called the police because they got robbed for illegal money. Somebody's robbed them for drugs or something, and they complain to the police, "Hey, this man just came here and robbed me, and he just took, some weed," and it's crazy, but people do those things. Or they say, "Hey, I earned this money gambling and somebody robbed me for it." Gambling, depending on the situation, is probably illegal. Like, I mean, like, they're shooting dice on the street and they like, "Yo, this dude just robbed me for 500, and they tell the police we was gambling, and they don't even, it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, so it's just all sorts of things, that you have to find people who are trained and qualified. And how do you figure out, are they trained and qualified? You put them through a curriculum, or they get certified, right? So that's where, you say, okay, well, I need an auditor, I need an accountant, right? So these type of jobs, most people wouldn't even be looking for them unless they're in the space of accounting, like unless they're an accountant, or they understand what an auditor is. They probably won't even be looking to be in forensic accounting or anything like that if they don't know, or they're not from the space. And then if you are looking for somebody to do it, you want to find somebody who would make sense and understand what they're even doing. So I was like, man, it's really going to be a lot of new accountants needed moving forward, because first of all, there's always a need for accountants. You hear all the artists talk to my accountant, let me call my accountant. You hear all the football players, basketball players, everybody need accountants, right? And for whatever reason, people are leaving the space. And there were a lot of older accountants who kind of sat at the top, and they've kind of, with COVID, they kind of started going out, due to health issues. And then, now the baby boomers, they just retiring out at the same time. So there's a lot of space at the top that from people who are leaving. And now there's a much greater requirement than even in the past for, people to try to figure out all of this fraud that's going on. So for the first time, and I had some fraud stuff happen to me. You can't really talk about it right now, but I had some fraud stuff happen to me, and so I was able to catch it because I do this. I'm trained for it, right? And so, but if I hadn't caught it, and the fraud happened to me as well as two other people, and had I not caught it, they wouldn't have caught it. Nobody else would have known, and then it would have just went on and on. But I caught it, and there is a need for people like me. So then when I start looking at opportunities to do work in that space, now I was already an auditor, right? But for the government private sector, a lot of private sector things, they like positions and things like that. Don't get me wrong, they have auditor positions, but say like I was an IT auditor, and I didn't really separate the two. In my mind, they were the same thing. IT auditor, because I was an auditor who got transferred over to the IT audit section, right? It's funny because an auditor position just popped up, a senior quality assurance auditor. But anyway, so let's see, did this thing work? I'm trying to see. Okay, I'm trying to see if this thing, I was working on this document. But anyway, so I was an auditor, and they sent me over, they transferred me, and I went to work one day. They said, hey, we hate to see you get moved over, but you just got transferred to IT audit. And we think that you'll like it, because they knew I was a YouTuber, and they knew, I had all these cameras and lights and gadgets and all that kind of stuff. So, geez, this thing keep making me do this one part over and over. I don't know, I might have to get on a computer or something. Might have to get on a computer or something. But we gonna see. I'm gonna try this one more time here, and if not, then I'm gonna have to go get on the computer. But anyway, so I was an auditor. They transferred me to IT audit. I literally stayed in the same exact office. I was just on a different team, but they transferred me to a whole new like section, supervision and all of that. But I was on a different team, and we were required to do IT. So we did performance audits, right? Where we looked at programs. Say like we would look at the program. We didn't look at this program, but let's say we looked at a program like the program where they were sending out the PPP money and the EIDL money, and we would test that program to see where there might be risk that you can get. That's what performance audits is. Not necessarily that it need to be the computer program, but the idealism behind the PPP loan, behind the EIDL loan, how effective it is, what the risks are associated with it, where what recommendations we might be able to have to recommend, what type of fraud is at, what type of money is at risk of being defrauded. And so we would, maybe look at the money amounts and stuff like that. And we'd try to figure out a formula to figure out how we can best describe what kind of money is at risk. For instance, let's say there was $100 million budget to do the PPP loan, and we could have discovered that there's a major issue, like nobody's checking these documents to see if these companies really had the kind of money that they claimed that they had, that they were making, because that's kind of where you got the loan from. The loan came from them saying, okay, well, you said you made maybe a certain amount of money, so we're going to give you $15,000. We're going to give you $100,000 because you said that you had this many employees and this is how much money you was making. But who's checking these financial statements? Who's, verifying what CPA is signing the financial statements? Like who's reviewing these things? It was just kind of being like kind of almost automated. And so there's a huge risk. So if it's $100 million is the budget for the money that was going to go out, how much money is actually at risk of being lost? Is it 5 million? Is it 10 million? Is it 6 million? Does anybody on here know how much money is at risk if there's no way to verify how much money somebody should actually get based off of where their real business is, or if it's a fake business or whatever, where their business is versus what they should really get? They should get where their business really is, but if there's no way to verify that, and there's $100 million budget, how much money is actually at stake? What percent of that money is at stake if there's no solid system to figure that out? Can anybody tell me what amount of money, two answers, what amount of money is at stake, and then what percent of that, what percentage is that of that money, that the total amount of the money? So it's $100 million. Just using that as an example, because I'm pretty sure it was way more than that. But let's say it was $100 million. I know it was way more than that. It was $100 million at stake. Like the budget is $100 million, but there's no system to verify how much money you should be getting, or a person should be getting based off of their paperwork. So what amount of financial risk is that? And what percentage, and how did you come up with that percent? How did you come up with the percent that you might come up with, that you might think is at stake? I'm waiting on you guys to let me know. And while you let me know, I'm going to read this next one. Okay, Fair says, does what you learn as an accounting major directly correlate to what you do as an accountant, or would experience matter more? So hold up. 100 million is at stake. 100% is at stake. Right. Exactly. It's like your bank account being open, and there's a way for somebody to go into it. How much of your money is at stake? All of it. All of it is at stake. And that's why what we do is so important. But are there things that we learned in accounting major that directly correlate to a job? Yes and no, right? It would depend, one, on what your role is. Two, the ethics is one of the main parts of the job that really stands out. I don't really do any general ledgers because I never worked as an accountant. I worked as an accounting technician, but I never worked as an accountant while being an accountant. Well, for my own company, I did. But for like anything like general ledgers, excuse me, T accounts, things like that. I never did none of that. I never did nothing like that. So I was an auditor. I was looking at policies, procedures, things like that. I could have been better suited as an English major with as many reports as I've had to write and documents I've had to write. But either way, no, I would. I mean, yes, there is like times where um, I would directly pull from, like for instance, in accounting, we learn about internal controls, right? And I might meet somebody on the street who don't know what internal controls are. Let's say they went to college, they got a master's degree in HR or they got a master's degree in public health, and I say, hey, do you know what internal controls are? A lot of times they have no idea, right? So at least I know what internal controls are, right? So when we're talking about doing an audit and we're talking about internal controls, I know what internal controls are, right? So, and that's really where most fraud happens is internal controls, like a lack of internal controls. So, um, but yes, $100 million would be at stake. If there's $100 million budget and there's no way to figure out who should get what money, then $100 million is at stake. Excuse me. Good job. Yeah, good job. Okay. All right. So after discovering, you know, so like I said, I moved over to IT audit. So basically, I was auditing IT programs, like the technology that the government was using to do stuff. For instance, if I was, which I wasn't, auditing the PPP loan or the EIDL loan, then I would audit the program that I would probably audit the program that where people submit their documents. Excuse me. I would audit the program that people submit their documents. How effective is it? How easy is it to be defrauded? Um, uh, I would assess the internal controls. Um, it's so many different things that could go wrong or right with a program. How fast is it? Does it ever crash? Any complaints, any already complaints of fraud that have maybe made the news or whatever. Um, I would test the system. I would get on there and actually have them set me up a fictitious thing and see if I can get a loan. Maybe even try to trick the system to giving me a loan by putting in random information. Excuse me. And even though it could be a greater issue than say the program, maybe the program itself works fine. Like if I hit enter works. If I put an input number in, the number works. But the back office part of the system where there's the issue with everybody just getting money. If you put anything in, they're gonna send you some money. If that's an issue, that's still a part of that program. And even though I'm testing the IT side, I might make recommendations that they add a personal touch to it or another system that's verifying the documents or add on to that system where something is verifying the documents and not just kicking out numbers based off of what's being input, that kind of thing. But yeah, so while I was looking at IT audit positions, because I didn't know that was a separate field. I was an auditor and they moved me over to the IT section, and I knew I was an IT auditor, but I didn't know that that was an actual separate career altogether, considered a separate like position. IT audit is actually a tech position. I had no idea. Okay, I'm thinking still audit, I'm still thinking accounting, because there's so many things that are accounting that people think are not accounting. So many different things. I've even seen people in finance not understand that they still doing accounting. Like it's crazy. So, but like when I was looking at, IT audit things, excuse me, I was just looking at the fact that I still work for an IG and inspector general position. I was just thinking like I work for an IG. IT audit is still just an auditor. We're all still accountants. Everybody was an accountant. So it wasn't like we were all. None of us were tech people. because IT audit is not necessarily like super tech. Like we're not the people who program the stuff. We do have to know the policies and all of that kind of stuff that govern. We'd have to know how to how to find a nest and stuff like that. Like these different kind of instructions on what it's supposed to be when it comes to what programs should be able to do and what policies should have been followed, that kind of thing. Um, so we would have to know those things, and I was trained on those things, not understanding, because as an auditor we can audit anything. You can take me to a dog kennel and I can audit a dog kennel. Like, is this dog kennel effective? Like, is the process of the cage are the cages in good shape? I can figure it out, right? You just tell me, and I have to learn about some stuff that I've never seen. And once I know that, then I can go out there and say, okay, the dog kennel is supposed to be at least 12 by 12, according to this regulation that's governing what these dog kennels should be for the government. And I go out there and I look at the measurements. Oh, they the wrong size, or they got the wrong floor. They got this. These dogs on the floor. These dogs is on wooden deck. These dogs is on cement. And the regulation may say any platform that's not the dirt. And so it's just like, okay, I can figure out those, I can learn those things, and then I can go out there and see if they're done in accordance with what they're supposed to be. It's pretty simple. I mean, I ain't gonna say simple, but I'm trained on how to do this. So when we got to IT audit, it was the same thing. I don't look at it no different. I had to know how these computers should be working, or like how the program should be, and what governs it when it comes to social media, or what governs it when it comes to sharing IT information or whatever. And so I would have to just learn these acts or instructions and stuff like that as a standard, and then look to see if they actually use these as a protocol. So I never really saw IT audit as a separate field, but I found out it was a separate field. But a lot of those positions that I was looking at on the private sector were looking for you to be a CFE, which makes sense, a certified fraud examiner. And you also got CIA, certified internal auditor, but a lot of these IT audit positions were required, were saying, hey, can hopefully you have, or we desire the CFE, certified fraud examiner. Some of them was, it might say CFE, CPA, or CIA, but the CFE was showing up a lot in a lot, showing up in a lot of them. And I was just like, man, that actually makes sense, because they look at this position not as an accountant position. They look at IT audit as a tech position. And tech is heavy on certifications. So for the first time, I said, you know what? Because I actually have a passion as well for finding fraud. Like when I see people doing fraud, like and like maybe somebody stole your identity or something like that. So with me being able to spot it and say, hey, something's wrong here, or something's not lining up here, and you can even call somebody and say, hey, is this, do you know that this is going on? They're like, that I never did know that. I don't know I never bought a home in Nebraska. Like, what do you mean? Like, I just defaulted on a mortgage, or I sold a house to somebody that I bought for 300,000 for a dollar. Who I never owned a house there. Like, what do you mean? That's under my social. That's under. So I have a passion to be able to do that kind of stuff. Forensic accounting was always interesting to me, but it looks like the best way to do some forensic accounting is get your CFE. So for the first time, I might actually be looking at getting a CFE. Might, might get it, might get it. But what I really want to get into is sales. I've always wanted to be in sales. They say that's the fastest way to run your money up. So I really want to get into sales. And so I'm getting ready. I know you guys be like, yo, you do so much. Yes, I do. But I'm getting ready to jump into car sales. I always wanted to sell cars. I couldn't do it when I was in the military. I was active duty, and I was trying to sell cars. So I got in trouble when I was in tech school for selling cars, but that's neither here nor there. But then I bought a lot of cars in my life. I think I've had over, I think 28 cars, 29 cars over the course of my life. I got three right now, four technically, but three. And so I was buying a Nissan, and so I knew a lot about selling cars and stuff like that. So I was asking the guys, since I always had that passion to because of I got bit by the bug when I was in tech school. I was selling cars, and I had got bit by that fast money kind of bug, the hustle, and I was making like 2,000 on Saturdays. Um, they stopped that. The military put a stop to that quick, but yeah, I was doing pretty good, and I really liked it. And so then I was like, man, I always kind of wanted to go back to it. And so one day I was buying a Nissan, and we're doing the test drive with the guy, and I'm looking at this guy like, man, he's finna get a commission for this, like. And so I said, hey, um, you know, what's it like? Like, do you enjoy it? He's like, man, I love it, whatever, whatever. Of course, he probably just saying, I don't know. But I'm like, what'd you think about it? And he said, I love doing this. I said, man, I really want to do this. So he said, well, if you want to do it, you could just talk, because I know we hiring. So I said, bet, I'm gonna go up in here and ask the guy. So I go to, as a general manager, I said, hey, I really like Nissans. Um, I think this would be a good, it's a brand new, it's like the new car joint, right? It wasn't like the, the used car sales. This is the new car sales. So I'm like, yo, I really like Nissans. I want to sell Nissans. How can I get a job here? And he said, are you good talking to people? I said, man, I can talk. I don't got no problem with that. So he said, okay, well, what are you doing now? I said, oh, well, I'm in the military, I'm Air Force. And he said, oh, um, are you in the reserves? I was like, well, I actually am in the reserves, but I'm on orders. Like, I'm technically active duty. Like, I'm on active status for like a year, like multiple years. I was like what they call a troffer. I stayed on orders. So he said, oh, so how are you planning on selling cars? And I said, well, I was thinking I could maybe come in on Saturdays, like a Saturday and Sunday, and just sell cars on the weekend. And he said, oh no, you gotta be full time. Gotta be full time. Gotta be full time sell cars. So then once I decided to go do government contracts, and I left my federal position as an auditor, and going and selling cars wasn't like a thought at the time. Um, but so once I stepped all the way outside, and it's like, yo, okay, so I can really go do anything. I can like go do anything. Like if I wanted to be an astronaut, I mean I probably couldn't, but you know, it probably couldn't. I got PTSD and stuff. They probably ain't finna let me up in there. I'd be either had a panic attack going up in that rocket. But like the world is wide open. I can go back to school, become a doctor. I can go to school, become a lawyer. I can do any number of things. But the thing that I want to do is I want to sell cars. Like I could be a real estate agent. I could do any of those things. I think it was the fact that I thought I did so much research when I was young about selling cars and everything. Like I used to be having like discussions with real estate people. I used to be like, well, cars sell more than houses, right? Like like it's not even close. And so um, now I get the opportunity to like kind of pursue it if I want to pursue it. And just so you get it, like some car salesmen, the greatest car salesman, might make 700,000 a year, right? There's still doctors who don't make what some of the top car salesmen make. But of course, I'm not looking at the top car salesmen. There's kids who out of high school made $100,000 selling cars. Now, I don't know what the lifestyle like. The lifestyle might be crazy. You might never leave work. It may not be the lifestyle that I want to live. But I do want to try it. I do want to try it. I want to try it, and I'm gonna be trying it. I'm gonna be trying. I've been talking to a dealership, and they're gonna give me a shot, man. They're gonna give me a shot. They're gonna let me come, learn, and see if I could be good at it. And I think it comes from me like hustling, like like trapping or whatever. I think I got that just in me. Like I want to turn the money over. Like I want to grind. I want to, and I do believe in the brand. I'm gonna be selling Toyotas. I'm gonna be selling Toyotas, and they're gonna be brand new Toyotas. So I don't know what the commission is like. Like I don't know how much you make on commission because I guess it's different for different cars. Will I deal with electric cars? Yes, I'll be selling electric cars. I think they even have hydrogen cars. So yes. So if you want to get a Toyota EV, want to get a yeah. I think they got EVs. I'm gonna look now, but I go tomorrow actually to orientation. I'm actually trying to sign the paperwork right now, but this thing I might have to get on a different device or something because I don't know what's wrong with this. Maybe I need to try it on my phone. But yeah, EVs, Tundras, Sequoias, whatever. Um, I'm wanting people to come in there and try and get like 5 cars at a time, like get a fleet or whatever like that. But I want to learn. I want to learn sales because I do think that if I can do this, then I can sell pretty much anything because I know, car sales is one of those, places. And I hate to be like following in like Grant Cardone, like steps and stuff like that because he was a car salesman. Because as soon as I told somebody, I really want to sell cars, they was like, oh, like Grant? And I was like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. Now I'm only thinking about Grant Cardone, all right? I got in trouble selling cars, but I was making like 2,000 on a Saturday. It was crazy. It was crazy. And the only reason I got in trouble is because other little, I was in tech school, so other military guys was complaining that I was making so much money, and they bought cars from the dealership that I took them to, and that happened or whatever. So they was complaining, saying how much money I was making, and they ain't giving them none of the money, but because I made the money off of them. So I had to quit that. Relatively fast. And then I was never in a position where I wasn't a full-time employee where I could go try my hand at it. But if you guys want to get a Toyota, I got your back. I got your back. And who was that said? But I think it was my sister. She was not happy with the fact that I was choosing to go sell cars. She was like, so you go to school, you do all this, and you go sell cars. It's like, yeah, you don't need it. And and now that I'm thinking about it, if I can show I can make 100,000 selling cars, then I'll have to talk about it. Like, if you make 100,000 a year selling cars, then I'm gonna have to talk about that. I'm gonna have to say, hey, you top careers to not go to school and you can do this with no education and make 100,000. I have to put this on that list. I'm gonna see because I do have a degree. I do have degrees, multiple, but like if I can prove, like that's not what got me on with them. You know, so if I can prove that it's possible that you don't need a degree, then yeah. Now I don't know if I'm like, I want to sell cars forever. It's just like a passion, and I get a chance to actually do it now. You know what I'm saying? Because CEO of my own company. If I decide I want to go do something else, if I decide I want to, go mountain climbing for a month, then that's up to me. But and I don't know how long I'm gonna stay doing this because there is gonna be an economic downturn and it's already turning. And I think the safest place to be is with the federal government. But cars will continue to sell because that's our primary mode of transportation. And as they break, there's going to be a new influx of cars needed. Houses is not like that. Um, there are people who go through a car every 3 years, 5 years, or whatever, but they don't go through, they may not go through houses every 3 to 5 years. You know, you buy your house, you got that house, you probably in that house for 20, 30 years. You know, rarely people move every 2 years, every 5 years, every 10 years. So you buy a house, that's your house, you're there, 20 years. But how many cars will you go through in that time frame? And are the commissions higher for houses? Yes, absolutely. But that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, yeah, you say, Lamaya says you bring all your, hold on, you bring all your experience with you, you simply can't lose. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And and I'm thinking about like the grandfathers who are gonna come in there who are buying like their three granddaughters little Toyota Corollas at the same time. And that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, the multiple, trying to sell multiple cars at the same time. Um, Rasal Samad says you can open your own lot. Man, you know what? Y'all thinking big. Y'all thinking real big. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm thinking like that too. I'm like, I think about a lot of stuff. I even sold cars in Germany, but they were my cars. Like I bought cars and then I drove them for a while and then I just resold them to other like, soldiers coming or airmen coming to Germany. And so I might have bought a car for like $3,000 off the guy from, in Germany, like the German car guy who's like on the side of the base who got some cars at his house and stuff. And so I bought a few cars from him over time. I was there like 3 years. I bought a Mirage, a Mitsubishi Mirage, a Plymouth Neon. I bought a gold Mercedes. It's like a gold Mercedes car. I don't know which one, but it was a big joint, like the kind of Queen Bee. That was like the first car I bought over there. Well, the second car I bought over there because I also went half on a car. It was a $500 car. I went half with this is a guy named Everett. Me and him was in tech school together. Went half with him, $250 a piece, and he would have the car Monday through Friday, and I would have it, Monday through Thursday, and I would have it Friday through Sunday because I wanted it for the weekend. I ain't need it during the week. I needed to be on the weekend, hit them clubs, yeah. But we paid $250 a piece, and we just split the car. And that was the first car we got. That's how I had to learn stick. I ain't know how to drive stick or nothing. Then I got the Benz. I got a little, my first car my own in Germany was the big body Benz. It was gold. And then I bought a Mitsubishi Mirage and Plymouth Neon. That Plymouth Neon was that deal. I like that car, actually. I really like that car. And it was a stick shift as well. So I had 3 stick shifts while I was over there, and the Benz was automatic. And it had like a curtain and everything in the back. It was an old Benz, but it was like, it had heated seats and stuff, I think, back then. Like, it was crazy. It was like, I had like updated stuff, but it was an old car. And I was in Germany in '05 to '08. So the car was like, I think late '80s, maybe early '90s. I think it was like a late '80s car or whatever, but it was already had windshield wipers on the lights or something like that. I think whatever. I don't remember. It was something crazy though. There's a lot of crazy stuff going with that car. Press a button, the headrest lay down in the back seat. Like it was. I don't know why they was doing all that, but it was going crazy. But yeah, so as a matter of fact, it was even a slapstick. It was a trend, like how cars can be automatic and stick shift. It was like that already. I don't know when they created that kind of thing. Because some, new cars might be getting it now, but that car was doing that back then. That's crazy. But when I got done paying those cars off, let's say I spent like 3,500 on that Benz, I sell it for 4,000, 5,000. When after I done drove it for 2 years, I sell it for more than what I spent. So, I was doing that too, and I sold all my cars before I left over there. Yeah, I sold all of them before I left over there. So, the last couple of days I'm running around, going down there to the little DMV, signing over cars and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely was like, man, if you got a good product, you can sell it. And, out of all the car companies, I didn't want to really sell cars. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't have sold for Nissan. I think Nissan is a great car company because I got a Nissan too. Well, yeah, got a Nissan too. But when they like Dodge, even though I got a Chrysler, I got a 300 and I got a Dodge Ram too. Well, I got a Ram truck. They only call it Dodge Ram. I got a Ram and I got a 300, but then I also got a Porsche, right? And so I know a bunch of people buy Chryslers. They a lot of people buy them. Chryslers, Dodges, all of that. I know people buy them. But when I'm thinking about once we get those Chryslers and we get those Dodges and we in those cars and we get to think about how much we spending on gas and we finding out how we could have got a Toyota or a Honda or something else that's more gas efficient. I start thinking about all of that stuff because I'm also thinking about the product I'm gonna push out, right? Like I'm thinking about, hey, is this blue magic or is this some bull? You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about, okay, if I got a good product, I can stand behind. And then of course Toyota's like got the best CEO of car companies and stuff like that. And so thinking about all of that kind of stuff and just like the amount of work that like the amount you can like the how low it is, or because Toyotas and Hondas are like the cheapest cars to work on, right? So it makes sense if you got a car, you got maintenance issues and stuff like that, Toyota, Honda. So then I started looking at Toyotas and Hondas, and Toyota's just better in a lot of different areas. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna ride with Toyotas on this. So I went down there and said, hey, man, I want to come do these. I want to come work here. I want to learn how to sell these. I want to be able to provide, you know what I mean? I want to be out here like, yo, these my cars. Y'all want a car? Y'all want one of my cars? Okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? So I want to learn how to do that. And I think that skill set could take you, super far, especially if you learn how to sell. You pretty much sell anything. But having a good product that sells itself, you know what I'm saying? They always say good dope sell itself. That's probably a bad term for this, but yeah. So I believe in the brand. I know I know I like the cars. I love the cars. I don't have one. Have I ever owned a Toyota? I don't think I've ever owned a Toyota. Have I ever owned a Toyota? I had a lot of cars. I never had a Toyota. My partner had a Camry, but that's it. I never had a Toyota. I might need to change that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind trading a Ram in, but I ain't gonna lie. I had a Ram, I got a Ram, and I was thinking to myself like, damn. Everywhere I went, they was like, bro, you should have got a Tundra. You should have got a Tundra. You should have got a Tacoma. You should have got. So everywhere I was going, because it was like they cheaper to work on, stuff like that. Hey, LaMaya said, I'm excited for you. Hey, I'm finna go get it. I'm finna go do it. I'm finna learn it. I gotta be at orientation an hour away from here at 10 in the morning, and then I go to the dealership and like get a tour of the dealership. On at like 12 we get out of orientation. Then I got to go to the dealership right after that and get like a tour, meet the general manager and all of that. And so got to do that, check all that out. But yeah, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to see what it's like. I heard you got to make a lot of phone calls, but I don't know. Do y'all want to see this process? Should I show this process or should I just come to it? Like, should I tell y'all about this? I wasn't planning on it. But I was thinking, man, if I could show that you can make 100,000 in a month, I mean, 100,000 in a month, but you can make 100,000 a year, I definitely got to cover this on the channel. But I wasn't planning on covering all that. Yeah, but hey, let's get it. Absolutely. All right, for sure, for sure. All right. By the way, where y'all watching from? I'm about to get off of here, man. It's late. I gotta still iron. I want to go. I want to wear the tie, shirt, slacks. Like that's how I rock. I know everybody ain't like that. Some people in there, they sweats or something look like, I don't know, but I ain't like that. I'm out here, I love dressing up. I want to dress up. So I'm finna dress up. I know some people don't like putting on the button down. I do. So I'm gonna get in, like tonight, I'm gonna finish this little thing. And it wasn't nothing but like me downloading the handbook kind of thing and then signing off saying I received it. And one other thing, but I don't know, my iPad tripping, it won't let me get past a certain screen. So I'm gonna just probably get on my computer over there. But yeah, I gotta get it. Once this is done, I'm gonna get in there, pick me some stuff out the well, iron it up. Can you work with them and have your dealer's license? You know what's crazy? I don't even know. I ain't even think of that. You blowing my mind right now. I ain't even think about getting my dealer license. I ain't even think about getting my dealer license, but that's a good question. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to get a dealer. I mean, once I'm in the space, I think I'll like have way more understanding. The advantage that I see of being like at a new car dealership is the fact that all of the, because they have used cars there, but they certified pre-owned, right? But the car salespeople aren't necessarily having to go to auctions and source cars. And then they have brand new cars and they have packages that they can offer, to help facilitate the sale. Like if you're somebody and you're saying, hey, I want an extended warranty, or I want a lifetime warranty, or I want this, or I want that on my car. You're probably not going to get it from somebody who bought a car from from an auction. You're not going to be able to get that. But I'd be able to say, hey, you can get this, this, and this with this car. We can pick what you want. We can deliver your car to you with your specs because it's a new car. With the certified pre-owned, I guess they still have warranties and stuff like that as well. But a lot of these mom and pops places, they don't carry much of a warranty because they don't know how good this car really is. They got it at an auction. I mean, how much liability you want me to accept? you know, so having like all of these systems built in, and the dealership is really nice looking. Like it's really nice looking. If y'all ever come to town, I'm gonna tell y'all where it's at. Y'all pull up on me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how long I'm gonna be there. I don't know how long I'm gonna be there. So like, cause it also has to work with work-life balance. Like, I am aggressive. I'm trying to get out here. I'm trying to grind. But then, is it gonna be all my life? Like 5, 6 days a week, 7 days a week? Am I expected to be there? I don't know. But I know they're realistic for my life. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely want to see what it do, and if the numbers right, you know, if the numbers is right, like people telling me they can be. Like I did see one salesman say, he made 700,000 in a year, right? I ain't looking to make nothing crazy like that. I mean, that'd be great if I can, but that ain't what my mind is, okay? But I was seeing this guy. He said he sells, say different people. Like one guy says he sells on average 70 cars a month. Another guy say he sell like 40 cars a month. Another guy say he make about 54,000 a month, 40 to 55,000 a month. That's crazy, right? If you can make $40,000 a month for 10 months, that's $400,000. I've been there 7 days a week, baby. I've been there 7 days a week. I'll tell you my middle name, the Toyota. Okay, if I can make that. but yeah. So it's like that. Like I don't need to make. I ain't necessarily saying I'm trying to go crazy. You know what I'm saying? But if I can make 6 figures, if you can hit 100,000 in there, I'm cool. I'll be like, yo, we're gonna do a video about this. Now that don't mean that I'll stay, because where I'm at in my career, I can stay at home and make 100,000 a year. But this is definitely something like, working in my field for the government, like GS13 started 109 in Atlanta, and if you're at a certain certain agencies for GS13 or certain career paths, GS13 might start at 125. So it just depends on, whatever. But basically, on the low end, I could make 109,000, 110,000 at home because I'm GS13 level. And I have a bunch of referrals in for positions for GS13 right now. I got a bunch of referrals, so interviews are probably gonna be starting soon and stuff like that. But like I can stay at home and make 100,000. So it's like, but if I can do it there and still learn how to sell and everything like that, and then if I can move past that, if I'm on track to hit 200,000 then in a year, then it's like, all right, I might have to keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? So, we're gonna see. We're gonna see how it all goes. But hold on, let me see what you said. Somebody said something. Michelle says, well, congratulations on getting into the orientation. Appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, it's up. It's up. Anyway, if y'all could please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And also let me know, like, is this cool? Like I'm in the bed, I'm chilling. I ain't feel like setting up the whole, TV show tonight. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm trying to get ready for this thing. You run this bag up. We finna run it up. Everybody finna get 100,000 this year. If you're already getting 100,000, you finna get 200,000. If you're making 200,000 already, you finna get 400,000. That's right, you gotta double, cause we double from 100,000 to 200,000. Then you gotta double too. If you're already at 200,000, you gotta double from 200,000 to 400,000. Let's get it. Anyway, right now you're watching Casino as a Name. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And we are. How you stop this? We are out.